For decades, Dan Snyder was the most controversial owner in the NFL, but in July 2023, his empire collapsed under the weight of scandal. After years of whispers about a toxic workplace, the NFL's independent investigation, led by Mary Jo White, finally dropped its findings. The July 20th, 2023 report concluded Snyder had overseen sexual harassment in the organization and withheld millions in revenue from the league. That same day, the NFL slammed him with a record $60 million fine. Snyder didn't walk away voluntarily, he was forced. Under relentless pressure from Congress, fellow owners, and sponsors, Snyder agreed to sell the Washington franchise for a staggering $6.05 billion to Josh Harris and his investment group, marking the largest sale in NFL history. Fans, who had long chanted, "Sell the team," got their wish, but it left a permanent stain on the league's reputation. This wasn't just about one man's downfall. The saga highlighted deep issues of accountability inside NFL ownership circles. How could Snyder last so long when players are punished instantly for lesser conduct? Owners operate under different rules, and Snyder's survival until 2023 showed how far power and money could shield someone. The Washington franchise, once an NFL flagship, became a national embarrassment under Snyder. His ouster was a relief for fans and the league alike. But the case left one haunting question. If Snyder hadn't been caught cooking the books, would he still be running the team today? Jerry Richardson. In December 2017, Sports Illustrated dropped a bombshell on Carolina Panthers owner Jerry Richardson. The exposé detailed a workplace culture of sexual harassment and racial insensitivity, complete with hush-money settlements funded by Richardson himself. The revelations stunned the league. This wasn't a rogue coach or player, it was an owner, the face of the franchise. Richardson acted quickly, announcing the Panthers were up for sale the very same day the story broke. By May 2018, hedge fund billionaire David Tepper purchased the team for $2.275 billion. It was a stunning fall for Richardson, who had founded the franchise and once been celebrated for bringing the NFL to Carolina. But the NFL wasn't done. In June 2018, after its own probe, the league fined Richardson $2.75 million, citing inappropriate workplace conduct and confirming the toxic environment described by Sports Illustrated. It was one of the most direct punishments ever levied against an NFL owner for personal misconduct. Richardson's legacy was shredded. Once known as the founding father of the Panthers, he became an example of unchecked power. His statue outside Bank of America Stadium was quietly removed in 2020 amid racial justice protests, a final symbol of how far his reputation had fallen. Robert Kraft. In February 2019, New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft's name suddenly exploded across headlines. But it wasn't for a Super Bowl. Kraft was charged in Florida with 2 misdemeanor counts of soliciting prostitution after a months-long sting on a strip mall spa. For a man who had just celebrated the Patriots' 6th Lombardi Trophy weeks earlier, the scandal was earth-shattering. The state alleged hidden cameras had captured Kraft inside the spa, and prosecutors pushed the case hard. But Kraft fought back with a team of powerhouse attorneys. By 2020, courts ruled the surveillance videos were obtained illegally, violating his Fourth Amendment rights. With the footage tossed, the state's case collapsed and prosecutors dropped all charges. Kraft avoided legal penalties, but the reputational hit was massive. Late-night comedians and rival fan bases never let him forget it. Even though the NFL took no disciplinary action, the scandal raised uncomfortable questions about the league's selective enforcement of its personal conduct policy when it comes to billionaire owners. For Kraft, the controversy was a rare moment of public embarrassment. But the case fizzled legally, and just like his Patriots, he weathered the storm and carried on as one of the league's most powerful figures. Still, the 2019 scandal will always be a blemish on the Patriots dynasty era. By the way, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Jim Irsay. On March 16, 2014, Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay was arrested in Carmel, Indiana, for operating a vehicle while intoxicated. Police found prescription pills and over $29,000 in cash in his car. For an NFL owner, the optics were devastating. This was the man trusted with one of the league's most iconic franchises. The fallout was immediate. In September 2014, the NFL suspended Irsay for 6 games and fined him $500,000, the maximum allowed under league rules. It marked one of the rare instances where the league had to publicly punish an owner under the personal conduct policy normally reserved for players. Irsay later admitted he had struggled with substance abuse for years. In candid interviews, he said painkillers had taken over his life. While many fans respected his honesty, critics asked whether a player caught under similar circumstances would have faced far harsher consequences. The case exposed the NFL's double standards between its wealthy owners and the athletes on the field. Even so, Irsay has remained outspoken, using his platform to advocate for mental health and addiction recovery. His 2014 arrest remains a black eye for the league, but in hindsight, it also became a turning point in Irsay's personal battle with addiction. Eddie DeBartolo Jr. Few NFL owners were as beloved as Eddie DeBartolo Jr., who oversaw the 49ers dynasty of the 1980s and 90s. But by 1998, his legacy came crashing down when he was caught in a Louisiana corruption scandal. Federal investigators discovered DeBartolo had failed to report a felony after paying former Louisiana Governor Edwin Edwards $400,000 in exchange for a riverboat casino license. In 2000, DeBartolo pled guilty to the felony charge of failing to report extortion. He avoided prison but was fined and sentenced to probation. More damaging, he relinquished control of the 49ers to his sister Denise York, ending one of the most successful ownership eras in league history. For San Francisco fans, it was heartbreaking. DeBartolo wasn't just an owner, he was seen as family. His players adored him for how he treated them, but the scandal was too big to overlook. The NFL never reinstated him, and his once untouchable reputation was forever tarnished. Decades later, in 2020, DeBartolo received a presidential pardon from Donald Trump. Still, the scandal remains one of the most dramatic falls from grace in NFL history. The king of the 49ers empire dethroned not by football, but by federal corruption charges. Stephen Ross. In August 2022, the NFL dropped a hammer on Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross, not for what happened on the field, but for what happened in backroom dealings. An independent investigation found Ross guilty of tampering with quarterback Tom Brady and coach Sean Payton between 2019 and 2022, trying to lure them to Miami while they were still under contract elsewhere. The punishment was historic. The Dolphins were stripped of their 2023 first-round draft pick and 2024 third-round pick, while Ross was fined $1.5 million and suspended from team activities until October 17, 2022. The ruling called it the most severe tampering violation in NFL history. The investigation also examined allegations that Ross offered coach Brian Flores money to intentionally lose games, but the league said it found no definitive evidence. Still, the tampering alone left Ross and the Dolphins humiliated. For Miami, the scandal cast a shadow over what should have been a promising new era. Instead of talking about the team's future, headlines focused on their owner's rule-breaking. Ross remains in control, but his legacy as an NFL owner will always carry the stain of the league's harshest tampering penalty. Jimmy Haslam took over the Cleveland Browns in 2012, but just a year later, his family's business empire was in federal crosshairs. In April 2013, FBI agents raided the headquarters of Pilot Flying J, the truck stop company owned by the Haslam family, after uncovering a massive fuel rebate fraud scheme that cheated trucking companies out of millions. The investigation uncovered secret recordings where executives openly discussed defrauding customers. Over the next few years, at least 18 employees pleaded guilty, and in 2017, Pilot Flying J entered a deferred prosecution agreement with the Justice Department, agreeing to pay $92 million in fines and restitution. While Haslam himself was never charged, his leadership came under fire. Court testimony suggested he was aware of aspects of the scheme, though he denied any involvement. The scandal dragged on for years, tarnishing his reputation and raising questions about whether the Browns' owner was fit to run an NFL franchise. For Cleveland fans, the timing couldn't have been worse. Their long-struggling franchise was desperate for stability, but instead, their owner was engulfed in one of the largest corporate fraud cases in trucking history. Haslam survived legally, but his name will forever be tied to the Pilot Flying J scandal. Stan Kroenke, one of the NFL's richest owners, ignited a legal firestorm when he moved the Rams from St. Louis back to Los Angeles in 2016. St. Louis officials accused the NFL and Kroenke of violating relocation rules, claiming the city had invested millions to keep the team. Fans called it betrayal. City leaders called it fraud. The lawsuit dragged on for years, with court filings exposing internal league emails that embarrassed the NFL. In November 2021, the NFL and Kroenke agreed to a staggering $790 million settlement with St. Louis, one of the largest legal payouts in league history. While the settlement spared the NFL a trial, it was widely seen as a direct rebuke of Kroenke's handling of the move. To make matters worse, reports surfaced that Kroenke initially tried to back out of covering the settlement himself, sparking tension among fellow NFL owners. Ultimately, he footed most of the bill, but the episode exposed how relocation fights can tear at the league's unity. Kroenke got his prize, the Rams in Los Angeles and a gleaming $5 billion stadium in Inglewood. But the legacy of the move is stained. In St. Louis, his name is reviled, and across the league, his billion-dollar settlement stands as a reminder of how far owners will go to chase bigger markets. Jerry Jones, the face of the Dallas Cowboys, has never shied away from controversy, but his legal battles have recently gone nuclear. In 2022, a woman filed a lawsuit claiming Jones was her biological father. He initially denied it, but in March 2024, a Texas appeals court ordered him to take a paternity test, reopening a case that Jones had fought to keep sealed for years. That wasn't his only scandal. In February 2022, ESPN revealed that the Cowboys quietly paid a $2.4 million settlement after a former team executive was accused of secretly recording cheerleaders in their locker room. Jones wasn't accused directly, but as owner, the responsibility fell squarely on his shoulders, and the payout fueled public outrage. The fire grew hotter in September 2024 when Jones was hit with a civil lawsuit accusing him of sexual assault dating back to the 2010s. He strongly denied the claims, calling them false, but the headlines were enough to reignite debate over whether NFL owners are ever held accountable under the league's personal conduct policy. Through it all, Jones remains one of the most powerful figures in the NFL, using his influence to shape league policies and billion-dollar TV deals. But his off-field controversies now rival his on-field fame, and for the so-called most valuable franchise in sports, the scandals keep raising the question: how much damage can even Jerry Jones survive? Michael Bidwill. In April 2023, shocking allegations surfaced against Arizona Cardinals owner Michael Bidwill. Former team executive Terry McDonough filed an arbitration claim with the NFL, accusing Bidwill of directing him and others to use burner phones in 2018 to communicate with suspended GM Steve Keim, a clear violation of league rules. When McDonough refused to go along, he claimed Bidwill retaliated by demoting and harassing him. The case painted a disturbing picture of Bidwill's leadership, with McDonough alleging a toxic workplace, intimidation, and misconduct at the very top of the franchise. The Cardinals denied the claims, but the filing forced the NFL to step in and investigate. For an organization already struggling on the field, the scandal cast a long shadow. While the arbitration is ongoing, the allegations highlight the fragile trust between owners, executives, and the league office. Bidwill, whose family has controlled the Cardinals for decades, now faces scrutiny that could strip away his reputation as a quiet owner. Instead, he is under the microscope for ethics and accountability. For fans in Arizona, the story is another blow to a franchise long associated with dysfunction. Even if Bidwill avoids punishment, the public airing of dirty laundry has already damaged his standing, proving once again that in the NFL, ownership scandals can be just as destabilizing as losing seasons. David Tepper, the hedge fund billionaire who bought the Panthers in 2018, has already earned a reputation as one of the NFL's most combustible owners. That image hit the national spotlight on January 4, 2024, when the NFL fined Tepper $300,000 after he was caught on video throwing a drink at Jaguars fans during a Week 17 game in Jacksonville. The league cited conduct detrimental, marking one of the rare times an owner was disciplined for behavior in the stands. But that wasn't Tepper's only scandal. In 2022, his real estate company abandoned plans to build the Panthers' new $800 million headquarters and practice facility in Rock Hill, South Carolina. The project collapsed mid-construction, leading to bankruptcy filings and lawsuits from contractors and government officials. By 2023, Tepper's companies agreed to a multi-million-dollar settlement with local governments to resolve the mess. The combination of public outbursts and business fiascos has tarnished Tepper's reputation as a supposed model modern owner. Instead of leading a stable new era, his time has been marked by constant coaching turnover, a revolving door of quarterbacks, and off-field controversies. For Panthers fans, Tepper went from savior to symbol of dysfunction in just a few years. Art Modell. In 1995, Art Modell made one of the most explosive moves in NFL history, announcing that he was relocating the Cleveland Browns to Baltimore. The decision set off riots in Cleveland, lawsuits from the city, and congressional hearings. For Browns fans, it wasn't just a betrayal, it was the death of a franchise. Modell, facing financial struggles with the team and a crumbling stadium, cut a secret deal with Baltimore city officials, who offered him $200 million in stadium financing. Cleveland sued both Modell and the NFL, leading to a landmark settlement in 1996. The Browns' name, colors, and history would stay in Cleveland, while Modell's relocated team became the Baltimore Ravens. The fallout was enormous. Modell was vilified in Cleveland for the rest of his life, seen as the man who destroyed one of the NFL's oldest franchises. At the same time, his Ravens thrived, winning 2 Super Bowls, cementing his status as a hero in Baltimore and a villain in Ohio. The Modell saga showed the raw power NFL owners hold over cities, the ability to uproot generations of loyalty for bigger profits. Nearly 3 decades later, Cleveland fans still consider it one of the league's darkest betrayals. Al Davis. No NFL owner fought the league harder than Al Davis. And in the early 1980s, his battle reshaped professional football forever. In 1980, Davis announced his intention to move the Oakland Raiders to Los Angeles, but the NFL blocked him. Instead of backing down, Davis sued the league in an antitrust case, and in 1982, a federal jury sided with him, ruling that the NFL had violated antitrust laws by preventing the relocation. The victory was monumental. Davis moved the Raiders to Los Angeles immediately, and the case, Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum Commission versus NFL, permanently weakened the league's control over franchise movement. From that point on, owners had far more leverage in stadium negotiations and relocation battles, fueling decades of team moves across the NFL. Davis was hailed as a maverick by some and a villain by others. To Oakland fans, he broke their hearts by leaving, while in Los Angeles, he became a larger-than-life figure. The legal war also cost the league millions and forced it to reconsider how it handled relocation policies. The Al Davis rule of owner independence changed everything. His court victory not only rocked the NFL, but also set the stage for the stadium boom and relocation wars that dominate league politics to this day. Bud Adams, the fiery owner of the Houston Oilers, later the Tennessee Titans, became infamous in 2009 for one of the most bizarre scandals in NFL ownership history. After the Titans beat the Buffalo Bills 41-17, Adams stood on the sideline, turned toward Bills fans, and repeatedly flipped them the middle finger. Cameras caught everything. The incident instantly went viral, and the NFL had no choice but to act. Commissioner Roger Goodell fined Adams $250,000, calling his behavior conduct detrimental to the league. It was one of the largest fines ever issued to an owner for personal conduct, a penalty normally associated with players, not billionaires in luxury boxes. Adams later laughed it off, claiming he was simply caught up in the excitement of the win. But the fine was a reminder that even owners aren't untouchable when they publicly embarrass the shield. The image of the elderly Adams flashing double birds to Bills fans became one of the league's most unforgettable viral moments. Though far from the most damaging scandal, it highlighted the double standard. Players often faced suspensions for similar antics, while Adams just wrote a check. Still, the $250,000 fine stood as a rare case of the NFL putting an owner in the penalty box, Bob McNair. In October 2017, Houston Texans owner Bob McNair ignited a firestorm during a league meeting on player protests. Frustrated over national anthem demonstrations, McNair reportedly said, "We can't have the inmates running the prison." The remark, leaked to the press, sparked instant outrage from players across the NFL, who saw it as demeaning and racially insensitive. Texans players threatened to walk out of practice, and some considered boycotting games. McNair quickly issued an apology, saying his words were a figure of speech and that he wasn't referring to players specifically. But the damage was already done. Critics pointed out the irony, an owner casually referring to his workforce as inmates during a debate about racial justice. The controversy tarnished McNair's reputation permanently. Several Texans players knelt in protest during the team's next game, making the discord visible to the entire country. The remark also shifted public attention toward the culture of NFL ownership, where power is concentrated in a small group of billionaires often disconnected from their players' realities. Though McNair remained in control of the Texans until he died in 2018, the inmate's comment followed him to the grave. It became shorthand for the league's ownership-player divide, a single sentence that rocked the NFL and exposed the gulf between those on the field and those signing the checks. Dean Spanos. Few NFL ownership sagas are as messy as the one surrounding Chargers owner Dean Spanos. After moving the team from San Diego to Los Angeles in 2017, Spanos faced years of backlash from fans who accused him of abandoning the city. But the bigger scandal came from inside his own family. In 2021, Spanos' sister, Dea Spanos Berberian, filed a lawsuit seeking to force a sale of the team. She claimed the family trust was drowning in debt and accused Dean of misogynistic behavior, self-dealing, and wasting millions of dollars. The legal war escalated in 2022 with new filings that painted a picture of bitter infighting inside one of the NFL's wealthiest ownership families. Dean Spanos denied the accusations, but the lawsuits made public what fans already suspected. Ownership wasn't just unstable, it was in crisis. At one point, Berberian alleged the trust owed more than $350 million in debt, raising questions about whether the family could even afford to keep the franchise. While the courts haven't forced a sale, the lawsuits damaged Spanos' credibility and fueled speculation about the team's future. For Chargers fans, already betrayed by the relocation to LA, the Spanos family drama became yet another reason to question the leadership of their embattled owner, Woody Johnson. New York Jets owner Woody Johnson found himself under an unexpected spotlight in 2020, not for football, but for his role as U.S. ambassador to the United Kingdom under President Donald Trump. That July, CNN and the State Department's Inspector General revealed allegations that Johnson had made inappropriate or insensitive comments on race, gender, and religion while serving overseas. According to reports, Johnson also allegedly pressed UK officials to steer the Open Championship golf tournament to Trump's resort in Scotland, raising concerns about abuse of power. The State Department later concluded he did not improperly pressure officials, but the claims about discriminatory remarks stuck. Johnson denied all wrongdoing. The controversy rocked both the Jets and the NFL. Owners rarely face public accountability, and now one of them was accused of misconduct not just at home, but in his role as a U.S. diplomat. It sparked renewed criticism of the NFL's lack of owner discipline compared to how it handles players. Although Johnson returned to the Jets in 2021 after his ambassadorship ended, his reputation had taken a hit. For Jets fans already frustrated with decades of losing, the scandal added another embarrassing chapter, one that had nothing to do with football, but everything to do with power and privilege. Terry Pegula, the Buffalo Bills owner, once hailed as the savior who kept the team in Western New York, was dragged into controversy in 2023. Former NFL Network reporter Jim Trotter filed a federal lawsuit against the league alleging racial discrimination, and in his complaint, he accused Pegula of making a shocking remark about black players. According to the lawsuit, Pegula allegedly said, "If the black players don't like it here, they should go back to Africa and see how bad it is." The statement, if true, would have been one of the most inflammatory ever attributed to an NFL owner. Pegula denied making the comment, calling it absolutely false. The lawsuit set off intense debate across the league, as it wasn't just about one owner. It tied into broader accusations of systemic racism in the NFL. By 2024, the NFL and Trotter reached a settlement with details undisclosed. While Pegula was not individually disciplined, the allegation left a lasting scar. For Bills fans, it was a gut punch. The team had finally become a Super Bowl contender, but its owner was being accused of racism in a nationally watched lawsuit. Even without proven misconduct, the association alone stained Pegula's image and reminded the public of the league's recurring struggles with race relations. Tom Benson. From 2009 to 2011, the New Orleans Saints, owned by Tom Benson, were at the center of one of the NFL's most infamous scandals, Bountygate. Investigators discovered that the Saints' defensive coaches had operated an illegal bounty system, paying players cash bonuses for injuring opponents and knocking stars out of games. It was a shocking revelation that rocked the league. In March 2012, the NFL announced unprecedented punishments. Head coach Sean Payton was suspended for the entire 2012 season. Defensive coordinator Greg Williams was banned indefinitely, later reinstated, and the team was fined $500,000 while also losing 2 second-round draft picks. General manager Mickey Loomis was suspended 8 games. For the first time, a head coach in the NFL was suspended for a full season. Although Benson himself wasn't directly implicated in running the program, it happened under his watch. As owner, he took the reputational hit, and the Saints' Super Bowl 44 legacy became clouded by the scandal. Fans across the league began questioning whether the Saints' success was tainted. Benson stood by his staff, but the damage was permanent. Bountygate remains a black mark on the NFL's history, a scandal that forced the league to crack down on player safety and tarnish the image of a franchise that had once been America's underdog darling. Leonard Tose. Long before billion-dollar TV deals, Leonard Tose's story showed how personal scandal could end an NFL ownership. Tose, who owned the Philadelphia Eagles from 1969 to 1985, was known for his charisma, generosity, and love of gambling. But by the mid-1980s, his private vice had spiraled into a public disaster. In 1985, Tose sold the Eagles to Norman Brahman for $65 million. Not because he wanted to, but because he was drowning in debt from years of high-stakes gambling. Reports later revealed Tose had lost as much as $20 million at Atlantic City casinos, blowing through much of his fortune and forcing the sale of the team. The scandal wasn't criminal, but it was humiliating. For years, Tose had been a league insider, serving as chairman of the NFL's finance committee. Suddenly, he was broke, disgraced, and out of football. Fans who once admired him were stunned that an NFL owner could lose a team to personal excess. Tose's downfall became a troubling example. His gambling debts forced the sale of a proud franchise and showed how quickly NFL royalty could fall. Today, his name is remembered less for building the Eagles and more for losing them at the casino tables. If you enjoyed this video, I'm going to be posting a lot more interesting videos on the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. Thank you very much.